truck. The rifles have been stacked as a hopeful symbol of the end of World War I. We find ourselves once again at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, exactly 100 years ago today, at this very moment. Nations the world over raised a jubilant cheer as the costliest war ever seen at that time came to an end finally. We find ourselves once again observing the solemn memory of Veterans Day. We're grateful to all of you for your attendance again, as we commemorate, celebrate, and show our gratitude to all who have served. Now, I want to give a round of applause from all of you to all the dignitaries who are assembled here today, and everybody assembled, you deserve a round of applause. Let's do it.
And bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in.
Servicemen and women felt the very first moments of peace. The war to end all wars was finally over. We hoped. November 11, a year later, in 1919, President Woodrow Wilson issued a message to the citizens of the U.S., urging all of us to remember the sacrifices of armed forces. Veterans on the first anniversary of the signing of the armistice that ended the Great War. Americans, as well as the rest of the world, continue to unofficially remember what we used to know as Armistice Day, or in some cases, Remembrance Day.
Now, I work down at Life Care Hospice, and I work in the inpatient unit. Thank you all for coming. We're here to honor you guys, girls, and we appreciate everything you've done for us. We're part of a program called Remember Veterans, and when someone comes into our unit, I'll just tell you how it goes. When somebody comes into our unit, we honor them, we honor their families, give them plaques, some different things. And if someone passes while they're with us, we drape up their body, with the flag, and we play taps. All of our staff line the halls, and we show honor to the veterans. Wow.
I am completely inspired today by the turnout that we have here for Veterans Day. I want to say to Chuck that God is my barber, and sometimes I have to take care of the sides. I think about Veterans Day, and I think about what we are doing on Veterans Day, and who do we celebrate? We celebrate those men and women who have gone into the military. Sometimes they've stayed here at home, like I did. I was never sent over, never here during a time of war. I was never deployed during a time of war. But we also think about those folks who, in World War I, World War II, coming back home after those wars and being cheered with jubilation from a lot of the folks here that were so happy to see those wars that had ended. And then we fast forward and we see, of course, the Korean War, and then Vietnam, especially Vietnam. And the response that we got back home, and the misunderstanding that we had seen with a lot of folks here in America as those veterans came back home, which I think led to a lot of other issues, personal issues that Vietnam vets had to struggle with. So we think about those veterans that came back home. Then we move on, of course, to the global war on terrorism, the Gulf War. I'm kind of in between all of those. In my 4 years in the Air Force, 1997 to 2000, January 2002, is when I served in the Air Force. And I was due to come out of the Air Force in October of 2001. And that was my time that I was going to go and get ready to go back to school, try to finish up a degree. And at that particular time, if you all remember what happened in September of 2001. So I remember being in my BDUs, and watching that tragic event of the terrorist attacks, World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the plane that went down in Pennsylvania, on TV, as I sat there in my BDUs watching that, thinking, okay, what's the next step? What's going to happen? And I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So I remember we got the order to have our bags packed. We didn't know where we were going or what was happening. And of course, as you know, as those events unfolded, it took us a little, it took the United States of America or our intelligence to figure out what the next step would be. But I was ready. I was ready to go, and I went to a program called the Stop Loss program. Stop Loss means that whatever plans you had, they're on hold, and I completely understood that. And so for a few more months, we were stationed. I was in Texas, and we were waiting for the order of what would happen next. And we had several conversations. I started developing a bill and started going through some of the motions that we needed to do with the State House, talking to other individuals, finding out what could pass and what may have problems. And I introduced, out of the result of my conversation with Jim Smith, I introduced House Bill 254. Now, what House Bill 254 does is the POW-MIA Remembrance Act, and it instructs state buildings that already have a flagpole to fly the POW-MIA flag on certain days, 6 days during the year. So those days are Memorial Day, Veterans Day, which is today, and so this bill actually was passed into law, and Veterans Day this year is the first day that you will see at state buildings, even the state capitol will be flying the POW-MIA flag underneath the American flag. It'll be flown on those 2 days, and also Armed Forces Day, Independence Day, Flag Day, and of course, National POW-MIA Recognition Day.
I didn't get a chance to introduce our Master of Ceremony, Chuck Craig, and it's good to have Chuck back again.
Thank you.
Chuck is here against doctor and spousal orders. Every year he tells me this is the last year, and then in September I call and whine, and he agrees to come out. So it's good to see you up and about. Well,
It's an honor.
out and about.
It's an honor.
Anyway.
Honor to be at.
So it's nice to be inside this year, right? After the last couple years, it's certainly nice to be inside. So I appreciate the Fair Board giving us this building. So before I go into our Veteran of the Year, well, let me do the Joint Veterans of Wayne County first. My boss, the President of the Joint Veterans of Wayne County, Lloyd Shellhorn's right over there. Thank you, Lloyd. And the Vice President, Jake Ritchie, right there. Our Secretary, Gary Cripes, back there in the corner. He's just don't get up there. And at this time, if you are a former Wayne County Veteran of the Year, please stand and be recognized if you are able. Bring another one into the ranks, and he's a dandy. I've known him for several years now. Fantastic, one of the finest gentlemen I've ever met. What I usually do is I take some notes off of the application and just kind of summarize the things that this veteran does for the community to deserve the honor of being a Wayne County Veteran of the Year. He's been the honor trip. Every year we talk about the honor trip that's put on by the Wayne Homes Electric Co-op in Post 67, Shreve. He has stood on that council as well since the inception, and we did that 3 years ago now, right? 3 years ago. He established a Veteran Scholarship Endowment at Stark State College Foundation. He donates to the Summit County Stand Down, which donates parkas to needy veterans. He donates holiday gift cards to veteran service commissions in 6 counties, including Wayne County. He opens the ceremonies and leads a motorcycle teddy bear run to Akron Children's Hospital, which is the 2nd largest toy run in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. He's done motorcycle escort for Wounded Warrior amputee softball team for exhibition softball against local teams. He assisted a Habitat for Humanity with home construction for veteran for a single mother of 2. He installed the installation of the Chair of Honor in government and public venue at the Ohio State House. He was on the planning committee with us for the Red Tail Tuskegee Airmen event that we hosted out at the Wayne County Wayne County Airport last year. We did the opening ceremonies, the escort for that as well. Opening ceremonies for the Ride for Pride in Dover, benefiting wounded warriors with burns. Publicized veteran suicide issues and support Dogs for Warriors and New Freedom Farm, providing equine therapy for PTSD and suicide prevention. He lays wreaths out at the Ohio Western Reserve National Cemetery each year, which is a very large undertaking. He helped construct and continue to support a Veterans Valor Home in Akron, transitional housing for homeless veterans. Quarterly visits to Lewis B. Stokes Veterans Hospital in Cleveland to support veteran patients. He raised donations to fund Greater Cleveland Fisher House free lodging for VA patient families. And he supports the Ohio Veterans Memorial Park Run in Clinton with his group. And our keynote speaker kind of gave it away a little bit. He also was the catalyst, I will say the absolute catalyst, for Representative Wiggam's bill being introduced in Congress and nipped at his heels until it got done. So without this man, this bill would not have gotten off the ground. He's a friend, he's a patriot, and he's just an all-around awesome guy. And he was nominated by Shreve American Legion Post 67. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hand to James Smith.
I've got a few notes here, otherwise I'll forget what I'm talking about. It comes with age, I guess. I've got a lot of people to thank for this. First of all, I'd like to thank my wife, Joy. She's sitting right here. My biggest supporter. She is put up with a lot of my absenteeism while I'm running to Washington, D.C. or Columbus or Akron or Cleveland or wherever my work takes me, and appreciate her support. My family's here, including my grandchildren. Thank you for coming. I'd like to thank Richard Winkleman, Jason, Roger Pinnell, American Legion Post 67, Scott Wiggam, Frank LaRose, the county commissioners, and all those who have helped me succeed in what I'm doing here.